Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Andy and Chad. How are you guys today?
How you doing, Andy?
Better than I deserve.
There you go.
Glad to be here with you guys. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we had said that we were going to do things a little bit different. I know that we were wanting to try to spice up the HC talk a bit, and one of those things is to have people on occasionally and be able to just have other people here to discuss with us things that are happening locally. But I think every once in a while we'll probably throw a few national topics in there as well, or state topics, obviously, because that's what a lot of people like to talk about. So we can be local most of the time, if not all the time, but sometimes we need to talk about things that we know people in the local community are talking about. So how was your guys' weeks this week?
Oh, you don't want to ask me that question today. I'm in the same place I was about a week ago, but you know, I mean, I love Andy, but I don't love those times when I got to hang out with him on Monday night, and then I got to go hang out with this county commission on Tuesday morning, and I'm not even fully awake yet because I've been hanging with Andy, and then I got to turn around and take care of a city commission meeting, and that's the calendar I'm on. This particular week, I'm really tired, and as luck would have it, this is also a week leading into a holiday. So the stakes go up because I've got all kinds of early deadlines that I got to deal with because of the holiday. So I might sleep on Labor Day, maybe. I don't know.
Gotta love the news. Gotta be on time all the time.
Well, and you know what? If you can't maintain a schedule and you think you have to, I mean, this is pet peeve, right? If you think you have to have Labor Day off, working in media probably isn't for you.
Good call.
Just saying.
Good call.
Right? I mean, that's a message to people that I work with. Right? You're in my business. You're in the media business. And because of that, there are sacrifices that you need to be willing to make. And when you're not, then you probably don't belong in the business. And I had that conversation with my son, right? Because
well, he wants to be a media journalist one of these days.
No, he does not, but he's taking Introduction to Journalism at the high school.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, he was so mad when he came home. He's like, there were only 2 classes I said I absolutely did not want, and I got them both. And I was like, oh, well, which one are you the most upset about? I got Intro to Journalism. Like,
that's not a bad thing, though. I gotta say, it's never a negative to learn how to write appropriately, to be able for people to hear what you have to say, read what you have to say. I mean, articulation is the best of things that we can do, and written word still trumps everything else, in my opinion. Andy, how was your week?
Man, if it was any better, I'd have to pinch myself.
Well, Chad was going negative, and you're going positive.
And
so
I'm
what's
trying, but
I
love it.
I'm gonna settle this boat down a little bit, tippy it the other way. But no, honestly, I mean, we've there's some things in the community that I'm so excited about. You go and you see dirt churning and properties moving, and you look at what's happening with communications and with some of the big companies that are talking about and admitting that they were being censored at high levels. That. And it's we all knew it was happening. Yeah. And, you get gaslit all the time on some of this stuff, and we can get in the weeds on this later on. But just to see people's realizations, and even people that I thought were not reasonable, reaching out and saying, man, I really embarrassed. I cannot believe I wasn't seeing this. And it's just like, wow, that's a breath of fresh air to realize that, we're busy. We do what we do every day. My world is kind of crazy, right? I've got 3 projects going on out there in this world right now that I'm trying to get through the finish line, and have a bunch of great people doing great things out there. But we all have schedules and agendas and families and things that we have to hold to. And when you're been around the media world, because I'm not a media guy at all. I help create stuff sometimes. I enjoy it. I enjoy the psychology behind it. I enjoy on the design aspect of it. But I'm not a curator of content. For those people that don't know, I'm dyslexic as you can get. But I really do enjoy people bringing information to me and watching how they do it, how they deliver it. I've just been a nerd for that for a long, long time. Yeah. And as I'm watching the landscape churn and shift, I am just really excited about, Lance, what you're doing here, and Chad, and what you guys have been consistently building over probably a year now, it seems like.
Over a year, about a year and a half almost. I think.
Yeah.
And maybe longer, going up on 2 years,
than that,
actually.
But with you two in particular, and then with Sissy, when she was bringing her flavor to this organization and helping you, Lance, graduate to your next place, and for you to invite me is an honor, and I'm just excited about it. And I have some crazy ideas, and I would love to see where this all goes for all of us in the future in our community, because I do know that there's a lot of people counting on us to do things better. And in our lifestyles, there's no 5 days a week, 40-hour work week. I don't know what that is for a very long time. I don't know if ever. But we know we're all wired differently too, and that's okay. But the big picture, man, I'm super blessed. I'm excited to be here with you guys today, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, I never would have thought that I would be in what we would call "quote unquote" media, right? I mean, I guess I'm here. We're covering lots of things that are in the Kansan. We're covering lots of local issues as far as anything and everything in between. Something that's near and dear to my heart is I've had a slew of interviews that have gone out here recently, where we just sit down with people, we talk with people about who they are, where they came from, what they're doing now. I've got more coming out that we're producing right now, and it's that's something that I really enjoy. It gives us the opportunity to just be able to promote individuals that are rock stars in our community, what they're doing, put a face to the name, and just an understanding who they are. But this week, I've got some spicy stuff, gentlemen. So okay.
I like spicy.
Pick from the three. Pick from the three, Chad. Okay.
Which one's the habanero pepper and which one's the Bahut Joker?
Either, to tell you the truth, it could be all or none of the above.
Depending on who you are, right? Where's your lens? You get that sun and just...
Yeah.
Well, okay, so, national politics always seems to bring out the best in everybody. So, and we try to stay local most of the time, right? Just because it's about informing and humanizing and everything. But, we cannot leave the fact or forget that even at a national level there is some effect on us. I mean, everybody around here has an opinion, most people, about what's going on this most recent upcoming election, and it seems as though between the RNC and the DNC national ratings that we've got a little bit of a discrepancy about most viewed. All right, and then
so which one was most viewed?
The DNC was most viewed by about 2 million more viewers.
And why is this surprising?
Well, I mean, my question was.
I'll be the devil's advocate here. Why is that surprising? And furthermore, why is it an issue?
I don't know if I'm necessarily saying that it's an issue. I think that a lot of times what happens is that is something that people will use as a question about whether more people are supporting the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee, or are Republicans more incited to get out and vote, or are Democrats more incited to get out and vote. And it is interesting, if you look at some of the statistics here, there are times over the last 12 years is what I've got here, where the Republican National Convention was watched by more people versus the Democrat.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Don't beat me up too bad here, because this is your space. But who owns 80% of the media?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, and where does most legacy medias, if you look at YouTube and you look at the titles of what draws people to those channels, what is it in leaning in favor of or opposition against? And if you just go and type in one of the big channels, even on the small percent of the let's just use the Fox News as the big name for the supposed conservative,
and that is not a news network.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
but
and
then, but CNN is.
But I'm gonna.
No, and I don't think Chad thinks CNN is necessary.
No, I know.
Maybe you do.
I'm being facetious.
But
like
here's the thing, Andy, and you can go down the rabbit hole of media ownership. You can do that.
Bring it.
Are there more registered Democrats or Republicans in this country?
Are you going to take that route? I mean, to discuss that,
it's a valid question.
That is a good one.
Well,
okay.
Because you look at our populated areas and our urban areas, there are a lot of Democrats.
I'm gonna go somewhere else because at the root of this, we're talking about Trump versus Harris. At the root of this, we're talking about Republicans versus Democrats. Yeah. So which one is actually the majority of this country? And understand, all those maps that you see after the elections, land don't vote. Okay? That's really important for people to understand. Here's another one for people to understand. Donald Trump has never won the majority vote.
Even though he was a Democrat till he ran.
He has never. He was.
Oh, now we're getting into a spiral here.
But he didn't run as a Democrat now, did he?
Then all of a sudden he's a right-wing nut.
Yeah.
Well, amazing.
That is interesting.
But
talk about media
bottom
manipulation.
Line, he flat out has not won the popular vote. He's gone through 2 elections. He's one of only 5 men in the history of this country to have won the presidency without the popular vote. He did it with the Electoral College. There's been 5, and 4 of them were Republicans.
Now, I do trust you, but fact checkers, get on that.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
What fact checkers are we looking at?
Yeah, well,
the ones that work for Facebook that the government was talking to behind the scenes.
Well, I was going to talk about that too. Just
okay, I'm sorry, I'm going off.
No, I'm with you.
So that's a good point, though,
because and here's one of the reasons I bring this up. Okay, because Don is taking a lot of heat today for statements that he made yesterday. The statement he made yesterday: if Jesus came back and counted the vote in California, I'd win. Dude, you lost it by 30 points. You lost California by 30 points. And here's why I'm bringing this up. It goes to my point. California is a Democrat state. There is no debate on this.
Well, unless it's Reagan, right?
And
the last Hollywood there.
the last Republican to carry California was in like 1988. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So if we're wanting to talk about why the DNC was more watched, all the indicators are there's just more Democrats, man.
Yeah. Well, and I was even going to ask the question like. When you do, kind of to Andy's point, when we're looking at who the list was that they took numbers from, it was ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. So if let's lean into what Andy was saying, where if the potential is that this usually slides left, this usually slides right, then viewership. Do you think by chance that factors into it at all, or do you guys think that that's just a non-issue? That when you're taking mediums that people could be watching on, that you are not pulling that information from. But then does that change it? We're only talking about 2 million people.
This is where I'm going. I'm talking about subject matter,
and it changes day to day. By the way,
right? I'm talking about subject matter. We're talking about the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention. Who's going to sit down and watch that?
Only about 20 million people.
Okay, that's fine.
And some days are better than others.
But what are they going? When they sit down to look? What are they looking for?
They want to hear what they want to hear. They're tuning in to hear themselves and get confirmation of their thinking of where they're at today, right now, and to hear somebody else preach it, talk about it, project it back on them gives them a sense of belonging. It gives them a sense of foundation, and it makes them feel heard.
Where's
Bingo.
the psychology on that?
So, well, no, I mean, he has hit the nail totally on the head.
Yeah.
And what he has done, whether he intended to do it or not, is backed up my statement. There's more Democrats. So
but when you make
they're
statements,
they're
you're
not
right.
If their motivation is to confirm their own self and their own bias, they're not going to watch the Republican National Convention.
Yeah.
They might watch it just so that they can get pissed off. But, the number of people who are going to watch it just so they can get pissed off is much lower than the number of people who are going to try and get themselves reinforced. I mean, honestly, we're talking about how we choose a church and why we go to a church.
Yeah. Well, I'll say in my own personal, I did not watch both through their entirety.
And I watched none of any of them.
But I definitely watched more hours of the Republican National Convention than I did the Democratic National Convention. I mean, you might think I'm biased, but I just, I can only take so much of some stuff.
Well,
I watched clips that were made to be manipulated online.
Yeah.
And I'm curious on how people react to them, because I know why they make those clips, and I can see what organizations are pushing those clips, and even what they call the private small media, Lance, like what you're building with Chad in a local level here, and what you bring out of the newspaper and what you guys put forth here locally. When I watch, that's coming from an actual newspaper with an actual person who's curating local content, which is not what most people are looking for right now. They're looking for the big headlines and the stuff that really doesn't touch them every day, right? Yeah. But when I look at this, what's going on, and I watch these clips from the local, small, non-traditional media is what people are saying, or away from legacy media is another thing they would call what you do, Chad.
Yes.
Which I know there's shifts and things going on in your organization, and you guys are working on. That's one of the reasons why you're here. So you're getting ahead of that curve on a local level to bring more value to your community. And you're right. There's not a 9 to 5 when you do that. It's tough because there's never not something that needs to be talked about or a voice that doesn't need to be heard. And local is the best way to do that, right? And we understand that, especially at this table. But it's interesting to me to see these clips be manipulated and chopped up with titles pushed out in front of people to continue to fuel the individual narratives with people that don't have full context. And when you look at what's going on with some of our governmental agencies and things, it's mind-boggling to see Mark Zuckerberg come out and say what he said about the FBI and what was going on there, and how they allowed the CIA and the IRS, and those things might be clipped on Facebook just because I said them.
Yeah.
Or on especially on Facebook, more or less YouTube lately, because I think they see the shift coming. And my question is do people even realize that's happening when they're getting in their silos and those algorithms are pushing them into a narrative to make them feel heard in a way that's unhealthy, because they're unwilling to see the other side of the coin?
No,
they viewership, don't, right?
Because the algorithms are fueled to pile you full of things that you want and agree with.
Clickbait.
Well,
Clickbait.
What's going on chemically?
And
this has been studied.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Those algorithms are made to incite, like, let's just use a drug, for example. When
cortisol is addicting.
Hits a drug.
Cortisol is addicting.
And it opens up things in your brain. And you go, it's been 3 hours? I thought it was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But they keep you clicking in a direction that they know is going to continue that emotional habit pattern by your profile, what you were searching yesterday, the people you're sitting at lunch with every Friday. All these things come into play.
I think people are oblivious to that, Andy.
That's amazing.
And people are oblivious to that.
That's amazing.
So anybody that's watching this show that is thinking that Andy is crazy for what he's saying right now,
they really think that.
Yeah, there are people that think that you're crazy.
Wow.
So if you think Andy's crazy, I'm going to tell you, sit down with your phone, pull up Google, okay? And I want you to pick a sport that you don't like and you've never followed. right? Maybe it's women's basketball. Google
Search it
WNBA standings.
Hockey, whatever.
Google WNBA standings. Go ahead and click on one or two links.
Show Clark some love while you're out there, please.
Oh, yes.
Bring money to that WNBA.
Man, yes. Oh,
Sorry.
gosh.
Don't do it right. Just give her some love.
Don't even get me started about how they've handled Caitlin Clark. But you know, or maybe it's, you know, maybe you're like my dad who played a round of golf with me like 30 years ago and said, I will never do that again. Google used golf clubs. Click on 2 links.
Next thing you know.
Maybe 3. Now go back to Facebook.
And Amazon.
And take a look at what's going to start popping into your feed and the ads that are there.
Oh, they got us. It's almost toxic in
seriously.
a way. I mean, it really is.
And just do that experiment, because I rarely say things like I guarantee, but do that experiment, because I will almost guarantee that when you go back to your Facebook feed, it is going to be filled with all those things that you were Googling.
Well, I'll even go deeper than this. Okay,
Unless
people?
it's porn, because they don't point people to that. All right, so don't
Chad's going X-rated today.
You better
on
believe it.
HCTalk.
Don't go down that rabbit hole. Seriously.
Here's another layer, though.
But do spend some time doing. I mean, and the reason that I chose sport and saying a sport you hate. I can't think of a better way to reinforce that when you go to Facebook, you're going to see all those things that you didn't want.
Well, I'm going to go one layer deeper as a guy on the back end, right, that sees how this stuff has happened for the last 15 years when we built that little sign that's sitting out here and we were trying to connect things. Ignorant, but really seeing what was going to be here today and knowing where it's going. It's amazing to me that people still don't understand. And it's just not what they do every day. And that's what we got to realize. It's our job to tell them this is what's happening. But when you're eating with people and groups of people show up, those pings start connecting.
Phone, that's correct.
So if you go to certain pieces, let's just say of Instagram, and you go to the little search window, you'll see a bunch of rows of content, what they call shorts and clips. That is what a lot of people around you are messing with.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's some interesting, weird stuff, if there's more weird, almost nudity stuff in there, or some stuff that you're just not, if it's outside of technology or business,
it's because somebody you were in close
somebody that I was
with.
around is looking at some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you kind of know what your circle of influence is looking
Even
at.
more cryptic, I'll tell you this one, okay? Literally, and people believe this because it is true, okay? What we talk about, your phone is constantly recording everything you say, and it's putting it into a portfolio of sorts as to what it is that you are going to be interested in. Then it gives the visual, it hopes you bite. I had an interesting one. I know somebody that has a master's degree in Spanish. They came over, they were talking to my kids in Spanish, and then absolutely everything that came across over the next 24 to 36 hours was Spanish. And so then, because I can't understand it, I'm like, yeah, see less of that, see less of that, and realizing that is the reason why it's happening. It was something fresh and new that my phone caught. But I'll give you guys a couple more words here, but we've got to move on to the next topic. So anything more to say on that?
Well, I'm just going to throw this out. I just got my son, who is now in high school. See the gray hair? Yeah, I got him a phone.
You can die.
Got him his first phone, and we got him a Bark phone. Okay, because we want control.
That's awesome.
Mom and Dad want control, and so I had a conversation with him just a little while ago because, there was a list, and I mean it was not a short list of YouTube videos that were being flagged for the content that I, under my preferences, said, I want to know if my kid's watching this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. As you
and
should.
so here they are. There's all these things that are flagged for content. I went and asked him, I said, what you been watching on YouTube? Vice Grip Garage. And I believe him.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the dude is like totally addicted to this Vice Grip Garage, which is a guy that repairs cars and talks really funny. Okay? when he surrendered his phone for the evening, I went and looked. And I looked at all of his histories. And that's exactly what he was watching. But all these videos are in there flagged. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I went and looked at what they were. The algorithms had shoveled this stuff at him. Mm-hmm. And it's because of what his buddies have been watching.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but his age.
Yes.
And that he's a male.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then all of it goes into it's very
so
cryptic.
I'm just like,
it's very cryptic.
They want to pull him into that inappropriate space.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
100%. Because
So it's
it gets them more eyeballs.
So that's the conversation we have. It's like, dude, you need to understand. You're going to get shoveled stuff, and it's not only because of what you've been looking at. It's because you're walking around with this cell phone, and it's interacting with the cell phones of all your friends on the cross-country team or the wrestling team or the kids that you're sitting with at lunch, which you have no control over.
And there's no way around it.
So you
got to empower your kids by conversation.
Yeah.
This is why we've got you the phone we got you. Okay? The other conversation that I had months ago was with my daughter. We're sitting there watching, I don't know what it was we were watching. We were probably Ruby in the Well, which is coming with its 4th season soon, on BYU TV of all places. And we're watching this thing, and all the ads are coming in Spanish. And she cannot figure out why. And I'm like, all the ads are in Spanish because you've been taking a Spanish class online.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why.
And folks, it is, this comes back to our, credible sources, realizing that this type of thing takes place, and it's only going to get worse.
Right.
Okay?
So if you don't like the Facebook algorithms, you got to start disengaging.
Yeah. Yeah. And even then, it's always listening to what you say.
That's right.
It knows who you're around, your camera or anything you videotape.
One of the running jokes over at Friday lunch, man, it's like, oh, I didn't really just say that, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look out. Look what ads are coming. And let me tell you something. I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple of dudes at that lunch that I end up with some really funky ads.
Yeah. Well, and for people that don't know this.
Just because of the conversations that we sat through.
And I've actually had to show people this. You can take control of that. There are, on my phone, there's 3 little dots at the top. You click on it. You can say, show less, hide real, whatever you want to do, and then that just goes back. It's like, don't be, and before we move on to the next thing, okay, don't be somebody that just consumes. Be somebody that is interactive in that consumption. Go and say, okay, there's a way that I can bend these algorithms one way or the other, depending upon what I want to view. I don't get very many Spanish videos anymore. They tried to take me because they thought maybe they were wrong, and it wasn't, the infamous that it wasn't Spanish, that maybe it was some other country. And so I wound up getting stuff from the Middle East. But all the same. Second topic, okay, because we just got done with the RNC, DNC, and politics and what's going on.
And getting into the weeds on something else, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's
what we do. That's what we do. But so one thing that I am always watching when it comes to national politics, especially because, there's a lot of things that happen at the local level. I know the different forms of government, and something that local government has absolutely no control over and rests on the back of the national politics or the federal government is national foreign policy. And I know that a lot of us have been watching recently this, what's going on in Israel. We've always been a backer of Israel. Right now it just seems like it just keeps heating up since the terrorist attacks that took place from in Israel. It's been.
It was October.
Yeah. So it's so okay with that happening. Tensions continue to increase. Just to give, a 10,000 foot view, it started with Hamas in Palestine, which is a terrorist organization, not Palestine necessarily directly. Then it's gone to some missiles going back and forth between Israel and Iran because they are going after somebody in either Hezbollah or Hamas. Now Lebanon's involved, and we as Americans have a difficult time understanding that because we don't have terrorist organizations in our country that are involved in the government. So it'd be like if all of a sudden the Democrats or the Republicans decided we're going to shoot some rockets over into Mexico or Canada. So people, I think, have a hard time understanding and separating that Lebanon does not mean Hezbollah, that Palestine doesn't mean Hamas, that these are cells, just no more than Afghanistan means the Taliban, right? And understand this, that's the government theocracy that is in a major portion of control over this, but this doesn't necessarily mean that that's the wishes or what everybody in that country wants. So with that being said, the headline in the New York Times is trying to head off war, U.S. moves naval forces closer to Israel. Okay, and I want to take a couple different approaches to this. I know you both of you have been aware of what's going on. Everybody's aware of what's going on over there, but it seems like as tensions seem to escalate, then we think by putting more military force over there and giving and engaging in that way, that somehow or another is going to help the situation. What do you guys think?
I think that we're talking about an incredible display of hubris by the United States. I really do. I would really like to know why we think we can affect any change here. How can we? This conflict truly goes back longer than our nation's even been a nation.
I think I got some strong opinions on that, and I may be way off kilter here, but local government has nothing to do with that. The spending is hurting all of us and our local government. People are dying. Never, ever okay under any circumstance. A lot of America did not sign up for some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that's going on with the funding that we give other places to help embolden other backdoor deals to happen so people can get weapons and ammunitions and things they should not be getting. And we turn a blind eye to that at the highest levels of government. And people are making a lot of money off of this stuff. Yeah. There was a study done on what it would cost to train up a agent for, oh my gosh, the people who guard the president.
Secret Service.
The Secret Service, how much it costs to train a Secret Service agent. And then BlackRock, in its heyday, was asked for a number to train that same person. The government's number was enough to send somebody to Harvard 3 times over. And so it's so out of whack of how that whole funding and system is working, where people are just making money hands over fist. And there are monies going to organizations like the Taliban and other people who are strategically using that money to fund things behind the scenes to help one or the other of those parties.
Or both.
And there's a tune of $50 million, or I think it was, a week that are going to Taliban, that we are spending as a country to hurt people that we were supposed to be helping not too long ago. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of mistakes there. But yes, to your point, Lance, that is not a local government thing. That is having the right people in Washington that want to leverage certain goods and things and funds that we have to stop that and to literally hurt them in the pockets, which just makes them change action and change course. And until you have people that understand how that works at that level, their wars are going to happen. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people with power that lobby Washington that don't mind what's happening over there, which breaks my heart. Well, because our money is going into that.
I go back to this. Don't crucify me here, people, because this is an opinion.
Crucify him.
Yeah, crucify him.
Where's my hammer?
This is my take. All right, is that since Vietnam, all right, how often has the U.S. intervening in a conflict across the seas somewhere been beneficial to the point of where we actually tip the scale. And let me say what I'm saying here, right? We got involved in Vietnam because we wanted to stop the spread of communism across the globe. Did that work?
Nope.
No. We got involved in, let's say another one, Iraq, Afghanistan. After 9/11, 20 years we were at war over there, and we fought the Taliban. Who's in power right now? The Taliban. Our pullout of Afghanistan and Iraq was less than to be desired, and I think that anybody that was fighting in those conflicts who lost brothers and sisters and family or whatever the case may be is still scratching their head about how that works out, because that doesn't shake out and it doesn't set well with many people. I mean, we just right now, what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, right? How's that working for us? It's not. We just could go Israel, for instance. I'm hopeful that something will tip the scale on that, but I'm doubtful that as we get involved, it seems like things escalate. It really does. So I'm not a non-interventionist. I think that we need to be strategic in what we do, but at the same time, I mean, I'm asking you guys. We spend billions and billions and billions of dollars in bombs and guns and bullets, okay? And it's almost like, well, we'll supply this side, right? We'll supply this side because they're fighting somebody we want them to fight, and then we'll supply this side. So in the end, it's almost like you've got two people fighting, and the U.S. says, "Here's a hammer, hit him with a hammer." So they go hit him with the hammer, and then we're like, "Well, that's not fair. Here, you got a hammer too." And then they're both just beating each other with a hammer. And you know what's good? It's good for us, right? Is that not good for us?
Our version of ending a conflict is trying to help one side win. That's not a good actor. Okay? I mean, straight up, if a fight were to break out between you and you right now,
you're kicking somebody in the knee.
Okay.
And then you're like, oh, well,
what kind of action is required by the third guy in the room?
Try to stop it. Yeah.
Right. Get in the middle.
Real quick.
Get in the middle. We'll look at you and say, what the hell are you doing? And looking at you and say, what the hell are you doing? Can we talk about this and figure this out without you two beating the crap out of each other? That's how you end a conflict. The end of the conflict is not going, oh, Andy's the bigger guy. I'm going to run over here and I'm going to start beating on Lance.
Or Andy can
that
give
does
more
not
to me
end
than Lance.
the conflict.
So I'm going to go here. Or Lance can give more than Andy.
Straight up.
And that might change throughout the whole fight.
And it does.
And it does change throughout the fight. And if and when the fight actually ends, what relationship do I have with the loser because I helped the winner? I don't.
Yeah.
This is a foreign policy concept that we as a nation will never get and have never gotten. So let's go Israel and let's go Palestine. So let's go Israel, Palestine, because I'm about to blow both y'all's minds.
Bring it.
All right, you ready for this? I learned that concept from a Palestinian teenager in the middle of Toronto, Canada, 20-something years ago. Because he would look at me and say, you dumb Americans, just get out of it. Get out of it. I'm like, well, could we come in and help negotiate? And he's like, nah, there's no way. You've been a bad actor for too dang long. And by the way, this conflict, it predates all y'all.
But where are we at when we have an entire now this is where I question even what what I said before and involving Israel and Palestine. Okay. Well, if the U.S. does not get involved, let's say we take a hands-off approach. Well, they're surrounded by countries that want to see them pushed off into the sea. So if we're
both
not
of them
over
are,
there,
yes.
Yeah, if there's not somebody over there that's saying, "Hey, you all back off and let this fight happen," then what's going to happen. I mean,
the fight will be had.
Because right now, Israel's getting rockets from Lebanon, from Iran, it's in full force over there right now, and it seems like
they're getting stuff from people who hate us, and we have established that hate relationship with.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've established these hate relationships because we have not been a good actor.
Yeah.
We act in our own interest every single time.
We do. We act in our own interest. And where I'm going here is
perceived interest at the time. I mean, we just went over that.
It depends.
It's a perceived interest.
And our rhetoric is always, we're going to find a way to end this conflict. No, we're not, because our actions are going to add to it.
Good point.
Well, what do you do when you're in a no-win situation? I mean, that's a good question. I like you said, it's been going on for a long
Well, you stay out of it. I mean, you're taking people's dollars that do not want anything to do with it. Unless there was a clear, concise reason for us to be involved, we should not be involved. And the only time we should be involved is to try to save as many lives as we can without getting in the middle and picking sides. And I think that's done through global economics, things that most people aren't going to dig into, but it's real, and there's ways to tip the scale if we really wanted to. But until we're willing to do that, because that might be a loss of revenue in other areas, we don't want to take those risks. And that's just not right at the end of the day. So if it's not, then we shouldn't be involved.
Well, and I go back to...
and I have one last thing that I say. And I've never said this publicly, but I'm going to say it publicly now.
Send it.
We also, and I'm being specific to Israel right now, we have allowed ourselves to confuse the nation state of Israel with the chosen people of God, Israel.
Oh, you're going deep, Chad. Going deep.
Okay?
That's a big layer.
Because it is a big layer. And the reason I bring that up, okay, dude, I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s. And I listened to that rhetoric. We have to back Israel because this is the nation state. This is the people that were chosen in the Old Testament. That nation state was not chosen by God in the Old Testament. God chose a people in the Old Testament. And this is one of those spots where I'm like, dude, we have to start separating our brain, our political policies from our religious ones. And that is a huge layer with this conflict of Israel and Palestine.
But we do that here, Chad. We are something
that's what I'm saying
entirely. We do not show preference in this country, or at least the belief is that there's not a preference shown to any specific religion or theocracy over another.
Constitutionally, we do that. We do that constitutionally. But listen to our rhetoric.
Oh, not my rhetoric.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. But listen to the rhetoric that we get.
Yeah. But you can't say, oh yeah. I'm there. Having been involved even in local politics, it's very interesting how there's this demonization. And when I mean demonization, I mean, whatever you can do to make out the person that you might have a personality conflict with to be the devil, versus the person that you think is going to do everything that you want them to do being, called by God. So, moving on. Unless Andy's got something he wants to say about that.
No, I mean, that's deep. I don't want to get too far down that.
Yeah, we're going deep.
I'm going to say this. I've done that.
Yeah.
And so I can't throw stones at anybody else. It's about catching yourself and pulling yourself back and realizing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's easy when you get in your silos to do those things. And that's part of our problem when you got two tickets, a Democrat or Republican, and you start demonizing the other side or the other person or the other thought, and see no value in what they have to offer in the content that they're delivering to you. That's a dangerous world to live in, and I've helped create that sometimes in some spaces. And frankly, it's about taking responsibility, casting it out there, and saying I'm going to do better.
Yeah. Well,
and actually doing it, because talking and doing are two different things.
Well, and hypocrisy it is an all-time high in politics.
Yep.
So remember this, folks. Eisenhower said it best: "Beware of the great military-industrial complex."
Yes.
Beware, because we're
Kansas boy.
seeing. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
My opinion, one of the greatest presidents of all time. So, last,
I like Ike.
Okay, to make it a little bit lighter. Okay, have you guys ever considered about going into space? And if you did go into space and you were successfully there, how about getting stuck there?
So just for the record, I'm going to do it. And if I pass before I get to do it consciously or be, alive, please send a letter to Elon and put my ashes in there. That's a request from your
Andy
homie.
did say he would,
See who can get it done.
I got you.
Elon,
I got
please,
you.
Hey,
brother,
I
send me out.
I watched some trippy stuff. We talked about AI, right? And how, not directly AI, but how, our phones and technology and everything. I was, so I guess the sci-fi stuff started coming at me, obviously, because I was prepping for this program. And they said, because they said it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that the belief now is that we will have the technology to be able to teleport, for lack of a better word, to different places. And that they are currently,
are you
even with
saying
Elon Musk being able to go into the brain and be able to take and like Total Recall stuff.
Are you saying
guys
that
remember
Gene
Total
Roddenberry
Recall?
was a prophet, not just a science fiction author?
Well, a lot of science fiction. Look at 1984.
I'm going to tell you now, though.
Gene was pretty smart, man.
You could buy tickets a lot cheaper online and go sit in the arena where the tickets of the game you bought and put visors on and be there. That already happens.
It already happens.
Yeah. So it's going that direction.
Yes.
These are changing our mind shifts and what we're allowed and reason. You would be surprised what's ready on the shelves that we can't handle yet.
Yeah. Oh, I have. That's yeah.
If what I talked about at the beginning of this podcast is news to people, just realize
we're way down that
that's
path.
the majority.
Yeah.
And it's cool, but it's also a little freakish.
Yeah.
When people don't understand, where we're going. And, there are also those, people will take religions and things and connect it to other stuff that I see some validity to it. But at the end of the day, Revelations is what it is. And that's what I always tell people.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't mean you fully embrace the mark and all that stuff for me personally. But, man,
well,
the world is moving fast.
Revelations is pretty specific about what the mark is.
Yeah. 100%.
Seriously.
It's very blunt.
It's pretty clear
We're
what it
going
is.
biblical now. That's
Hey,
not talking that
it's just a
Israel.
touch, just a
Just a
touch.
touch. We'll see. I was going to say I could add something to that and say
So-
that,
let's not go too far on
yeah.
our first one.
I've watched.
We'll be here all day. We'll feel like we have to.
Yeah.
We'll beat each other up real good on that.
but I was just saying.
yeah, well, hey,
stuck in space.
Make sure you go this weekend. You're bringing religion up. We've talked a little religion. You got to go this weekend. So go out to the Newton Theater. I think it's still there this weekend. So the Forge, go see the Forge. Okay. I'm changing the topic a little bit, but the bottom line, go see the Forge, man, because it's sending a message to a number of people. Men is one of them. Really big. That is really big. There's a huge message for each man. Okay? And it transcends religion. Okay? It is a religious message, but it transcends that. There's great message for every man on the blasted planet.
So what you're saying is you believe in Your gender isn't right now, right? What are we going on that level?
Can we go on record with if we believe aliens are real or not? We're talking about space. Come on, it connects.
Okay.
Sure.
Hey, go on the record. Okay, I'll go on the record with that.
Ooh.
I do not believe aliens are real, but I do believe that in the future we will find out that technology will prove to us that man has existed a lot longer than it has, and that when we talk about alien species that we have what you would consider historical evidence of is just a race of human being that was more advanced technologically than what we are today.
Well, and
an alien, think about what an alien is. An alien means that they are foreign to this place. So when you talk about a UFO, remember, a UFO is just something that's used flying. You can't identify
UAP
what that is.
Now. There's reasons for
so,
that.
So in full disclosure, I wrote a paper for a introduction to religion class, and my thesis was that God was an alien.
Ooh. Well, when you get into it, I mean, play
now,
on words, but
I never turned the paper in because I knew there was no way I was going to get a decent grade on this paper.
So you went deep.
Because it did not conform to social norm. Because it asked the question bluntly, is Genesis really the account of an alien visit to create life on this planet?
in so many words, Chad. See, this is the thing. We get played up on some words.
I'm going to get you out there. So.
We get played up on words, but the truth is it's funny that you say that, because if you take what an alien is, okay, which means an entity or being, even human being, that is foreign from one place to the next, okay, we've got, break this down to the 10,000th fraction here, but if you take an angel, let's say, and they are something that we call an angel, well, you can fill in that with a different word and
alien.
Call it that. Well, but see, this is the play on words here, okay? Is not to go there.
Because they got wings. They look different,
Yes, that's right. Lance did not say angels and aliens are the same thing.
We're going really weird today, aren't we?
But the truth,
I blame Andy for this.
Andy did it to us. But to say...
Watch your viewership go up.
Oh my God, these guys are nuts. No,
I got to go get my tinfoil.
But I tell you, we get into this, and this is purely the academic side of me. Grass is grass long before we named it.
Yes.
So when you get into the semantics of naming something, okay, and what we call something versus what we don't, you take the definition of what an alien is in an English Webster's dictionary, all right, and the words there. Well, these words were not even thought of English per se before these experiences were taking place that people were documenting. So to say, I don't know. You get into these ancient civilizations and some of the accuracy that they have with certain things. It plays back into what I said before about how I think that we had more advanced civilizations long before us, and that there's a cycle that takes place. There's just a cycle that takes place on Earth, and the farther we go, the more we find out, the less we actually know. So name it what you want. Chad, you're still Chad, even if I call you Steve. Your name could have been Steve, and they just named you Steve. Would you be a completely different person with different makeup, different eyes, different face, different hair if you had a different name? Or is that just the name that we call your being? Well, so getting into it deep here.
Well, I believe that names have power.
Agreed.
And that names do assist in defining your identity. So
definitely define my personality. Sharp, pointy spear.
Well,
that's why so many people like me.
So full name. My full name. When you look at my first name, you look at my middle name, and I'm not telling anybody what that is. I'm just going to tell you what it means.
It's Cornelius, everybody.
And you look at my last name and what it means. My names define me as a fertile, and about all I have to do to get my wife pregnant until we took care of it was look at her. So I'm fertile, and I'm a servant king.
Dang.
That's what I am. All right. That's what my names define me as. All right? So I'm kind of king of the Newton Kansan, but dang, that takes a lot of servitude. Right? Names have power, and they have meaning. And over and over and over again, you know, I do it. I take a juvenile and I look their name up. I'm like, what's this name mean? And I'm sitting there going, you know what your name means?
Almost none of them do.
And none of them do. Okay? Mom and dad never sat them down to tell. They don't know what the name means. And in some cases, there's this trend of giving kids names that don't mean nothing anymore. But
just thinking outside the box is all, Chad.
Well,
you're gonna piss off about half the people watching. I should be able to name my kid blah 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 blah.
Okay, you want to name your kid? That's fine. I'm just saying that when I'm sitting down there and I'm looking at this name and it's spelled out for me, L with a dash and an A at the end, and I look at him, I'm like, okay, are you L.A.? No, my name's Ladasha. When I try and look up the name and meaning of your kid's name, I ain't gonna find it. So there you go. I mean, seriously. Anyway, names have meaning. They have power. And so many of those kids that I can look up the meaning of their name, they don't know it. Mom, dad never told them. Okay? Sometimes it's, well, I was named after so-and-so. Fine, that's great. But I'm getting to, what does the word mean? Okay? My oldest,
constantly being spoken over you.
My oldest son is a perfect example of this. My oldest son's name is Kinnick, and when I told my family that was the name we chose, they all said the same thing. What, you named him after a stadium? No, I used the Gaelic form of my father's name, which means handsome. And my kid, he's pretty good looking.
Do words have power?
So
Absolutely.
These kids don't know these things.
Yes.
My kid does because I've told him. These kids don't know these things. Their parents never told them. Their parents may not even know. You'd be amazed how many times these kids are living up to the meaning of their name.
Well, in other cultures, and I've always found this interesting, especially native cultures, are that they waited to name the child until the child exhibited a personality that they could attach to it. So it was like they almost picked their name. If you're someone who bonks your head a lot,
well, I had
you're bonking your head a lot.
I just
falls down often.
3-4 weeks ago, I had a Native American child in intake, and so I'm going through. This is your name? Okay, cool, right? And I knew immediately. And I don't remember her name. I'll be honest, I do not remember her name. I very rarely do. But now I'm getting mom and dad's names, grandpa, and every one of them, all you got to do is look at it, this is Native American. And I looked right at her and I said, you know what? If there's one culture thing that your culture got incredibly right, it's how to name people.
Yeah.
Seriously, not to sound like a discriminatory jerk, but good Lord, I wish a few other cultures could catch on to this.
You start the energy right away, right from the beginning. I'll tell you what a lot of Mexican people do in particular. I won't even say Latinos, but I know my crazy culture. And we'll pick your biggest insecurity and we'll make it your nickname.
Yep.
What doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Better grow that thick skin, baby.
You're wet as pants. Can't hold bladder. Okay,
Yeah, he's a sir, but that's
we're getting ready to come to the end of the program, though. We're coming up on our hour, guys. So we covered a lot this week. I want to give both of you guys the ability to speak directly to the hearts and the minds of anybody listening. I'm really interested in what you guys have to say. I'll just say my last word is I appreciate everyone who watches. Just watch us grow and learn as we go. I know we had some technical difficulties this time. I'm sure when we produce it that'll be the case, but we'll get better. Just be patient with us, and hopefully we continue to just become more entertaining, more informative, more educational to everybody that watches our program. We're doing our best, and we're only getting better. So if you thought this was the peak, it's not. We're in the valley. Chad?
My last word is go see the Forge, especially if you're a dude. Go see the Forge. There is a wonderful challenge in there for you. I don't care who you are or how you've been raising your son, or if you've noticed a teen down the street that needs a little attention. I don't care who you are. There's a challenge there for you. And if we, I'm going to go there. If we as men start rising up to the challenge, this entire freaking world will be a better place. Not just Harvey County, not just the United States, not just Kansas. This entire world can be a better place if we were to accept the challenge that's there for you.
Andy,
I sound like a preacher.
No, it was good. And I'll take my son to see that movie. So The Forge it is. Well, one, thank you guys for allowing me to sit in with you today. This is the first time I hope of many that I'll get to show up and be a part of your what you're building here, Lance. And it's been fun to watch you grow over the last 2.5, 3 years and doing what you're doing here, and then being where you're self-sustaining and able to do all your own thing without anybody. And so that's really cool. I love to see people progress and mature through that. And I have some crazy ideas, as you know, and we talk about those things all the time. And Chad, you've known me for a long, long time. And where this is going, if we can just keep consistent and keep things together. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this today.
Absolutely.
I hope I can continue to help in certain ways behind the scenes and help walk your vision out and then attach it to one of mine. And Chad, you've been doing so many things that bring so much value. And thank you for being consistent. The 30 years of media that you've brought to this community, 30 plus years of experience. I behind the scenes call you my oracle because I come to you for information and where to find things and to know where some things are hidden underneath the blankets and covers that you know where they're at 95% of the time. And at least you're able to point me in the direction every single time of where I need to go to look at something. And you've been very objective and just a good coach when it comes to certain things. And I appreciate you for that. So Lance, thank you again for being here and to our community. There's a lot of value going to be coming at you all from here. And hopefully it's going to be to mend and bind and bring good information to help people make good decisions. That is as unbiased as we can possibly make it, because we're living in a world that doesn't want to see that right now. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants things my way. And to be the men we need to be, we need to create spaces where people could be themselves and make sure that they're seen and valued. And if we don't like something, influence those people and build relationships because we all have stuff, right? But when we demonize one another, that gets dangerous. And hopefully this organization, Lance, that you're building will help bring people together and push away from that stuff and help educate people. So I'm really excited. Thank you again for allowing me to be here today. No problem. And I look forward to see this all chopped and cut to see how we can get better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Going to chop and cut the bejeebos out of it. I know that. But thank you for listening to this week, everybody. I know it was a little bit different. Like I said, once again, bear with us. We're getting better. We're growing, and we're going to be rocking it for long into the future. Catch you next week, everybody.